In his book, theologian A.W. Tozer explores a question that lies at the very foundation of the human experience. What is the nature of the one who made us? Imagine it right now. When you think of God looking at you, what exact expression is on his face? For many, the honest answer is a frown. We often carry a subconscious image of a deity who is perpetually disappointed, exhausted by our failures, or simply too busy running the cosmos to care about our individual lives. This replaces the idea of a father with the concept of an absentee engineer. We begin to view God as a cold, mechanical force who runs the universe by remote control. Tozer argues that this mental picture is the most important thing about us. He believed that our entire spiritual life ultimately succeeds or fails based on our specific conception of God. Seeing the Creator as cold and exacting creates a catastrophic trap. It replaces the possibility of a joyful relationship with the paralysis of a servile fear. This fear often stems from a psychological vacuum. Because God is invisible, we tend to fill in the blanks by projecting our own flawed human nature onto him. Consider human goodness. In our experience, kindness is usually conditional. It is subject to our moods, our stress levels, and how much sleep we got the night before. We falsely assume the Creator operates on the same sliding scale, that he wakes up tired, feels cranky, or grows easily annoyed by our persistent needs. To find the truth, we have to stop using human behavior as a measuring stick for the word good. To see God as he is, we must stop treating him as a magnified, moody human, and instead look at him through the lens of theological perfection. Tozer uses words to describe God that are rarely found in modern religious life. He writes that God is kind-hearted, good-natured, and cordial. To understand how that cordiality works, we have to look at the concept of infinitude, the state of being completely without boundaries. C.S. Lewis provided a famous analogy to help define the scale of this infinite nature. Think of a sheet of paper extending infinitely in all directions, representing the nature of God. Draw a 1-inch pencil line on it. That tiny mark is the beginning and end of time. This is how God's goodness operates. It is not a limited resource. It is an infinite quality that fills the entire plane, engulfing our tiny existence within a boundless ocean of kindness. Added to this is immutability, the fact that God never changes. He does not have off days or fluctuations in his character. Because he is both infinite and immutable, there's never a single millisecond in eternity where he does not feel perfectly cordial toward you. How can an infinite, perfect being tolerate our constant failures? If he is perfect, our brokenness should be an affront to him. Tozer points to the Prodigal Son story, showing God is not revolted by our wretchedness. He describes a God who is able to project himself into our suffering, acting as a nurse and a caretaker rather than a distant judge. This empathy exists alongside a necessary severity. Because God is perfectly good, he must logically hate the evil that destroys his creation, opposing iniquity with the intensity of a consuming fire. These two forces meet in what Tozer calls mercy. Mercy is simply God's goodness confronting our guilt. For those who trust him, this ensures that his kindness toward the individual is never compromised by his hatred of the sin. This allows us to confront a common myth, the idea that if we are truly happy, God must be worried about our spiritual focus. A.W. Tozer reveals the opposite is true. He writes that God takes pleasure in the pleasure of his people, provided we find our joy in him. We see this in the boundless enthusiasm of creation. God is not a passive engineer. He's an active, joyful participant in the world he made. He operates in a state of perpetual eagerness, expressing a continuous, rapturous love for his handiwork. He invites us to celebrate alongside him, delighting in our joy as a father delights in the laughter of his children. This theological shift leads to a practical change in our daily lives. It begins to dissolve the religious anxiety that comes from trying to perform for an angry God. A.W. Tozer defines God as the most winsome of all beings, whose service is meant to be an unspeakable pleasure. You can drop the heavy theological overloading and the servile fear. You are invited to rest intimately with a Father whose goodness has no end.